Hey, good afternoon. This is Jeff White with Life and Living Now. And I wanted to continue with a conversation talk we had yesterday. And this really comes from something that I'm reading, some research that I do. And it's from a piece of writing from China from 200 to 350 BC is when they think that it was. It's called Inward Training. Um, this translation comes from a book called Original Tao by Harold Moss that was well regarded. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this. And it takes the inward training piece is about 26 short chapters, verses. And so with the book, Original Tao, uh, very good book. He kind of goes through, gives some of the history, um, lays out his translation of it, and then comes back with notes. Um, if you're interested in Qigong, and it's not in your library, I would suggest that you may want to acquire it. But on chapter 8, there is a passage that really, really spoke to me and something that I wanted to share. And it says, there is a numinous mind, and mind in parentheses, naturally residing within. And numinous means spirit, and spirit can be both a verb or a noun. And a noun, it is obviously it's a person, place, thing. It's who we are. And the spirit is going to be more of a verb. And that can mean anything from enthusiasm to your attitude to and I usually like to view this in this sense as the combination of heart and mind. So it is everything that you kind of bring to the table. From our conversations, it could be both spirit as well as spirit working through mind to raise your spirits. But in looking at this as a noun, then there is a spirit naturally residing within. And so that spirit, that is us. One moment it goes, the next it comes. So it can be a little hard to nail down and feel. Now, here's the interesting thing it is us, but it's our awareness that is always geared towards the exterior. Through no fault of our own, as we have evolved as a species, then we have awareness, and then there was as soon as there was awareness, well, not as soon as, but there was awareness, and then when awareness said I am, we had consciousness. From that consciousness came yin yang, came all the other, the 10,000 things that we read about. But when we are born, we're born with a mind that becomes our ego mind, and it's proper. It's what we're given with to kind of navigate through this plane, through life to look for patterns. To we're and our mind is incredibly adept, and this is what we've used to create all the technology for the understanding of nature and how we can use it and benefit it. But it's also in our ego mind, and we were not trained until later on to realize that we are spirit, to use our mind as a tool. Instead, we get very attached to our thoughts, and we think those thoughts are now part of us. And when instead we have always been the thinker of the thoughts, the witness, the observer, and these are thoughts that we have created. And so, as we have created all these thoughts and these experiences, then that's how we process. So, in our awareness, we're not always aware of it. There are times we are, and for some of us greater than others. Some have more highly developed intuition. Some think they do, but don't. Others are clueless. And there's, of course, an entire spectrum that goes with that. But here's the thing no one's able to conceive of it because it is who you are is grander than you could ever imagine. In my view, as I have experienced life and since I was 12, I have delved into these studies and through meditation and qigong, um, and just reading and writing and delving into it. My concrete belief is we are spirit. All of awareness, super consciousness, the oversoul, infinite awareness, infinite intelligence, God. We are all part and parcel. God is all and in all was an insight that I had that was transformative in my 20s. And from that, we are waves. One analogy would be that we are waves of this ocean in our individual lives, but we're still part of this um, very real, and we'll say entity, but it's not really entity either. Um, but we're a part of everything, consciousness. And just before consciousness is awareness. And that's all that exists at the base level that we're aware of within the universe. So remember, we are one speck of dust in this huge universe. But think about how much then on the speck of dust that our lives, we feel pain, we feel pleasure, we raise families, we have an incredible life that we can build, and all this on this little speck of dust. So it's very real and very pertinent to us, but also infinitely small in the grand scheme of things. But so no one's able to conceive of this. And in the writing from Lao Tzu, so the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. God cannot be described because we don't have the proper perspective. How can you give a proper perspective on something that you are already inside of? So all of this makes sense, and we just have to impart trust, but more so than that, experience. Right? Experience. Study is vital, but study never should take the place of experience. It's when you go inside and explore and relax the mind and get to your original face that the peace and the contentment comes, the insights come, the transformation comes. So there is a spirit naturally residing within. One moment it goes, the next it comes. No one is able to conceive of it. If you lose it, you're inevitably disordered. So the more that we do not move from spirit, that we do not live from spirit, that we're not spirit led, the more that we are led through our desires, through our ego mind, which feels separate from the whole and therefore wants to find things to make it feel whole. Maslow's hierarchy, brilliant piece of work, all worked within the ego mind because we felt separate. So we needed to work on our security and safety issues. We felt separate, so we wanted to have the sense of belonging, and it works its way on up until we have self-actualization, where then we're in a position where we can let go of ego mind and live more by spirit, become more aware of it. How we do that, to what percentage we do, is the individual choice. Some people, because we have developmental lines as we evolve and as we grow in this life and as a species, that are it's not just one trajectory. We have emotional intelligence. We have obviously we have mental intelligence. We have an intelligence for being able to read. Everything can be broken down into things we may have greater or lesser aptitude for, greater or lesser intelligence to apply. And we can be highly developed in one end and not very well developed in another end, which is why we have some cultures that are still very oppressive, but yet still claim to know and revere God. And those two don't actually work well together in an ultimate truth. So if you lose it, you're inevitably disordered. So you want to be able to live from spirit, from who you are. Let that find, I hate to say the phrase find yourself, because it's not finding yourself. When we first get started in life, we tend to want to find ourselves. And then I realized it was all about creating ourselves. And that's true, but also even deeper than that, it is getting rid of all the clouds in the ego mind and realizing who you are, that you are original mind, you are original face, and live from that. Your spirit, so now live from that, move from that sense of being. Now, if you attain it, you're inevitably well ordered. So if you are working on and you're working on grasping and becoming attached to things, then you can make a mess of your life. You're trying to fill a void that you sense, but the reality is the void doesn't exist. You are already whole. So you are already have the emotional fulfillment of all those things that you were looking for. You just have not tapped into it yet. You have not allowed your mind to feel who you are and sense who you are. So the next line in this is diligently clean out the lodging place. And I love that. Renewing of the mind. It's not so much what you add to, it's what you get rid of. It's what you peel off. It's what you let go of. We all have roles that we play, whether it's husband, teacher, worker, brother, whatever it may be in your life, but those are roles. Who we are is deeper than that. And we know this from psychology in our studies, and we often give a certain amount of lip service to it without really understanding its ramifications. But go deeper, okay? Go deeper. Diligently clean out the lodging place. Get rid of the mind. When you go into meditation, we're doing Qigong, we're putting our mind in our lower dantian or in middle or upper dantian. And we're focused on those areas. We're focused on spirit and feeling that sense of awareness and being awareness. Nisargadatta, an excellent teacher, was famous for, he just said, concentrate on the I am. Eventually, you have to get rid of the I am to understand pure awareness, but that's the last point to get rid of. So you get rid of everything else that says I am something, and you come to just I am. And then you're able to let go of the I am, and what you are left with is pure awareness. You are now the ocean, and you sense the ocean. Now, you still have to live in this plane here, and so that's where the push-pull always comes. So now but you use that sense, that anchor, that I am the ocean, I am the Tao, I am Brahma, I am infinite intelligence, I am awareness, and I live from that point of view. We put our mind in our heart, we're in third eye, and we move from there. So diligently clean out the lodging place, and its vital essence will naturally arrive. So, and I've always loved that. So it's not seeking as much as it's clearing out and realizing who you are. It's self-realization. It's realizing that you are already the self. Your little self, the big self, it's all one. You are the wave of the ocean, so be the ocean. All right, still your attempts to imagine and conceive of it. Relax your efforts to reflect on and control it. You're not going to be able to control at this point. This is at first realizing who you are. The more that I try and think about this and create dogma and create and explain it, the more I'm in ego mind. All right, so let go of the ego mind. Let go of trying to label it and figure it out. Instead, experience it. Remember, for all your studies, nothing takes the place of experience and experiential action, of being. Just be there. Ramdas, be there now. So, still your attempts to imagine and conceive it. Relax your efforts to reflect on and control it. Be reverent. Be diligent. So it takes an enormous amount of discipline and focus and letting go. And focus not in a hard way, because that's tension, but focusing your intent, working on your intent from the inside out as you go through sitting meditation and the moving meditation of Qigong, that you are being very diligent, you are focused, and it takes a high degree of focusability in order to be able to train the mind to not jump back into its attachments. It's very easy for it to do. We have 60,000 plus thoughts go on in our brain every day. Between 60 and 90,000 is what I've heard. And about 90% of those are all just automatic thoughts. So we want to be able to quell those, to quash those, to silence those, and live from awareness, from consciousness first, and then allow that to move through, and to move through our efforts and move through our life. So its vital essence, will naturally stabilize. So if you're reverent, which means being respectful, dig deep, feel that heart and mind commitment, and love of truth, love of reality. I've always been in love for what was real. I wanted to know what was real. It's what brought me into these studies, actually. because whatever is impermanent could be said to not be real. Whatever is permanent is real. Most everything we see is impermanent. What is real is awareness, consciousness. So grasp it and don't let it go. Once you sense this, once you have that insight, once you feel that awareness, and often you'll feel it within your heart or solar plex, then focus on that. Focus your groundedness, your centeredness. Live from that centeredness. Live from that groundedness. All right. Then the eyes and the ears won't overflow, so it won't be trying to pick up. And I've mentioned this before. I was always found that the Buddhist idea of desire being bad was a little problematic. We have this beautiful world that we live in. Was it only supposed to train us to not pay attention to it? Well, that did not seem to be proper. We are at the pinnacle of our evolutionary point for where we are right now. We still have much farther to go. But we have this beautiful nature that's all around us. And the trees, the smell, spring is in the air, fall with the autumn colors. Um, you know, it's just gorgeous. And nature is fascinating and mesmerizing. But often what happens is we sense a void. We sense something that's missing in us. And so when we see things, we desire because we want it to fill a void that's in us. When we understand we have no voids, we are whole. It changes the dynamic. We don't need to have it to fill us. We don't need to grasp it. We can simply experience it and enjoy it and know that it's going to pass, and that's perfectly fine. We enjoy it in the moment that it's there, and we're not attached because it doesn't need to fulfill anything in us. We can just use it to enjoy it. We can find, and it's proper, I think, to find functions and usefulness and to use those things that we find skillfully. That's why we have the buildings, the construction, the engineering trades that figure out how to do these things. Um, Vastly important. So the eyes and ears won't overflow, and the mind will have nothing else to seek. If you know that you are whole and that your emotional needs are already satisfied, that you really don't have an emotional need, even though it may feel it intensely. But if you go deep enough, you find that there is no need. You are whole. So when properly aligned, the mind resides within you. So when you are properly aligned, for me, that's mind, emotions, awareness, right? Later studies will also go with properly aligned with the postures that we hold. But for me, this is deeper. All right, and when properly aligned and the mind resides within you, the myriad things will be seen in their proper perspective. So now you'll be able to see how the world around us kind of fits into place. We do so from the witness, from the watcher, okay, from the thinker of the thought, not engaged in the thought itself. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't think. It doesn't mean that we don't engage our intellect. We very much do. It's given to us for a reason. But our starting point is different. Our starting point comes from who we are at our deepest level, not from who we think we are. And it doesn't come from trying to fulfill voids. It comes from knowing we are already fulfilled. We're already full. And now we can spend our time helping other people to get there as we also increase that awareness in ourselves. So I hope that helps. This was like I said, this is just a writing came from inward training. And I may share a bit of other pieces on there, but this spoke deeply to me, and I thought it was something that would be worthy of sharing. So enjoy your day, and feel free to like us on YouTube. With Life and Living Now, I do a Qigong session in the morning, Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock Central. I guess it would be 10 Eastern, Mountain Pacific or the other way. And you're welcome to join us. Just send me an email at lifeandlivingnow@gmail, and I'm Jeff White. And that's it. Any questions or any comments, always feel free to post those or email me, and happy to discuss. So thank you much. Have a great day.